Welcome to Rise Within Channel. I'm glad you're here. What you're about to hear is not just content, it's a conversation and life lesson. One that I hope meets you exactly where you are and leaves you somewhere better. Let's begin. Episode 16, One Decision Away, How Single Choices Alter Entire Lifetimes. In 1971, a young man in his mid-20s was working a comfortable job at a research lab. He was good at it, respected, secure. He had every reason to stay. He quit anyway. He had an idea, and the idea wouldn't leave him alone. His name was Ray Tomlinson. The idea was electronic mail. One decision, one moment of choosing the uncertain over the comfortable, and the way human beings communicate was changed forever. One decision, one life, one ripple that became a wave that became the world we live in. You are one decision away from a completely different life. The question is which decision and whether you are willing to make it. And history is full of these moments. A young Rosa Parks deciding not to give up her seat. A man named Steve Jobs deciding to drop out of college but continue learning on his own terms. These were not moments that looked legendary at the time. They were decisions, quiet, internal, deeply personal, that later revealed their magnitude. Part 1. The butterfly effect of choices. Mathematicians and physicists speak of sensitive dependence on initial conditions. The idea that small changes at the beginning of a system can produce enormous differences in outcomes over time. The famous metaphor, a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil and produces a hurricane in Texas. Human lives work the same way. A conversation you almost didn't have leads to a friendship that changes your career. A book you almost didn't open introduces an idea that reorganizes your entire worldview. A city you almost didn't move to is where you meet the person you spend your life with. There's a story often told about a man who missed a train by seconds. Frustrated, he sat on a bench waiting for the next one. Next to him sat a stranger. They started talking. That conversation led to a business partnership that changed both of their lives. What looked like an inconvenience became the doorway. The big moments are almost never announced in advance as big moments. They arrive disguised as ordinary Tuesday afternoons and unremarkable encounters and small, quiet choices that feel in the moment like nothing much at all. James, in his work on habits, reminds us that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And those votes, those small decisions, accumulate, quietly, powerfully, inevitably. Which is why the practice is not to wait for the obviously pivotal moment. It is to treat every significant choice with the weight it deserves, because you cannot always know in advance which ones will alter everything. Part 2. The decisions most people avoid. There is a category of decision that most people spend years, sometimes entire lifetimes, not making. Not because they don't know what they want, but because the decision requires them to accept something they are not yet ready to accept. The decision to leave a job that pays well but is slowly extinguishing them requires accepting financial uncertainty. The decision to end a relationship that is comfortable but not right requires accepting loneliness and the grief of loss. The decision to pursue the unconventional path requires accepting the possibility of failure in front of people who predicted it. There's an old story about a man standing at the edge of a forest. Inside the forest, he is told, lies everything he has ever wanted: purpose, growth, fulfillment. But the forest is dark, unknown, uncertain, so he waits. Days turn into years, and eventually he realizes the truth. The forest was never the obstacle. His decision to enter it was. These are not small things. The cost of the hard decision is real, but so is the cost of not making it. And the cost of not making it accumulates silently, invisibly, across years, in the growing distance from who you actually are and what your life could be. The philosopher Kierkegaard wrote about what he called the leap of faith, not specifically in a religious sense, but as a description of any significant decision that cannot be made through logic alone. At some point, after all the thinking is done, all the pros and cons weighed, all the opinions gathered, there is still a gap. And crossing that gap requires something other than reason. It requires will and trust, and the willingness to step into the unknown. And maybe most importantly, it requires accepting that clarity often comes after commitment, not before it. Part 3. The anatomy of a life-changing decision. What separates the people who make the decisions that change their lives from those who remain on the edge of them? Research by the psychologist Timothy Wilson and others suggests it is often not more information. Studies consistently show that people who overthink major decisions often end up less satisfied than those who act more decisively. Because at a certain point, additional information does not reduce uncertainty, it only increases the paralysis. Think of it like standing at the edge of cold water. The longer you wait, the harder it feels. The mind builds resistance, stories, fear, but the moment you step in fully, decisively, the shock passes. The body adapts, and what felt unbearable becomes manageable. What changes things is a shift in identity. Not should I do this, but who am I if I do this, and who am I if I don't? The decision to become a person who chooses courage over comfort, growth over safety, authenticity over approval, that is not a single choice. It is a commitment to a self. And from that commitment, the individual decisions become much clearer. There is a line often attributed to Goethe. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And what that really means is this: action reveals possibilities that thinking alone never will. Closing, you are one decision away, maybe more than one. But right now, in this moment, there is at least one decision you have been circling, one choice you keep approaching and retreating from, one fork in the road you have been standing at for longer than you intended. And if you're honest, you already know what it is. You do not need more time. You need more honesty about what you actually want. And then you need the courage, imperfect, frightened, uncertain, to choose it. Because here is the deeper truth. It is not just that decisions change your life. Decisions change you. Every time you choose courage, you become a little more courageous. Every time you choose growth, you become a person who grows. One decision can change a year. A year of decisions can change a life. And a changed life ripples outward in ways that neither you nor I can fully imagine. Make the decision today. Closing quote: before you go, carry this with you today. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Until next time, keep rising.
Please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment.